Alright guys, it's time to give the goblin some gold. Give me the gold! Where's the gold?
Howdy. I am a man, and as a man, I know my way around a toolbox. Hammers, nails, wrenches, screwdrivers. I even used a pair of pliers once. But steady there, old sport. Until you have mastered the sponge. Don't talk to me. And I'm not just a grease monkey. I'm also a salesman. Come on down to Apu Steier's filth dump and give the goblin some gold. One grandma's egg coming right up. Tonight, I play Trash Goblin. Fucking just start the video, bro. Jesus Christ. What if I told you that this game takes place in Sword Art Online, and that there's a big beautiful fantasy world out there just waiting to be explored? I'm lying, by the way. Unfortunately, Trash Goblin isn't that kind of game. In this game, you slowly get to watch the best years of your life fade away as you continue to work retail non-stop. No weekends, no vacation, no family, just an 80-hour work week with no aircon. Benefits? I don't think so. That whole fantasy world, you'll never see it. You wake up, you work for 16 hours, you go to sleep, and you do it all over again. Shout out to all my JB and CX workers out there. Oh no. Trash Goblin is a crowd-funded cozy shopkeeping game where you play as a goblin who digs through artifacts and sells them to customers. I started playing this game and I thought it was really stupid. Then I looked at the clock and realized that 6 hours had melted away. What the fuck was that? Trash Goblin is insanely addictive. Some people are calling it Fantasy Power Wash Simulator, and they're not wrong. This game is a lot more minimalistic though. You're not cleaning an entire amusement park, you're cleaning smaller artifacts and serving customers. Now, if you've worked customer service before like I have, you might have felt a shudder roll down your spine when I said serving customers. That shit's like an activation code for me, where I hear it and then my vision turns red. But this game doesn't have shitty customers. The customers in this game are awesome, except for Talmara, she's a dickhead. In this world, there are quite a few different species you'll come across, but the three most common ones are humans, frogs, and mushrooms. And if you know anything about working in retail, you know that the longer you work there, the slightly more racist you become. I hate the mushroom people, or as I call them, fungus fuckers. Go back to the forest where you fucking came from. There's actually a lot of variations in the customer designs, which is really dope. And then we have our lovely regular customers. They further expand on the idea that there's a big wide world out there that we're missing out on, which is really depressing, but they look cool. You got the big rock guy who's a priest, you got the fungus fucker who's a scholar, the lizard guy who really likes bedpans for some reason, and a few other cool characters too. It kind of reminds me of Coffee Talk, which is another cozy game that has a ton of different species in it. It's really awesome seeing all of these species in a fantasy world coexisting with one another, just not the mushroom people. By poking your chisel into the sack on your workbench, you're given a relatively easy puzzle to chip away at. By completing this puzzle, you obtain a dirty artifact, and there are lots of these things to acquire at various different rarities. Pots, instruments, jewelry, masks, dagger fragments. And then you have, I think, the rarest item in the game, Grandma's egg.
I offer you a nice egg in this trying time?
Yeah, he's got an egg, you might...
I have two of these things displayed atop my sleeping quarters, and I gave them both a silly hat. More on that later. Also, if you guys could quickly like the video, that would really help me out. I put a lot of effort into these videos, and liking it helps promote this content to other people. After obtaining an artifact, you can clean it with a sponge, which is where the comparison to Power Wash Simulator comes from. Some customers will demand the item be clean, which is a reasonable request, and some don't mind. But either way, you want to clean it. One, because selling dirty products is not a good thing. We're not CX. I used to work there. I swear to God, they used to just shove dirty items into the window and be like, oh yeah, no, it works fine, mate. Fucking ridiculous.
That's what I'm doing. I'm moving it, and it is raining headbands.
And the second reason is because they sell for more money, and we want as much money as possible. Ultimately, the end goal of the game is to make enough money to fully upgrade your shop. The shop is spread into 4 sections. You got the workbench where you uncover and clean artifacts, the customer desk where you serve customers, the shopkeeper, which Yeah, this one's a whole lot of nothing. And the personal space where we sleep. Here's a tour of my shop. Welcome to my factory. Yay! I'm so glad you'll be joining us on this workshop tour that I'm holding right now. This is my workstation. I've fully upgraded my tools because I'm a fucking psychopath. On the left side, we have my human mask collection. We've got my instruments up top. We've got some other knickknacks and trinkets on the other side here. This is my bedroom. If you look at my barrel, this is where I sleep. I sleep in a barrel, and I have a tapestry of the stars on the roof of the barrel, so I can delude myself into thinking that I'm not stuck in this fucking hellhole of a life. We got a fresh pot of coffee. That's an awfully hot coffee pot. We've got my mask and helmet collection. You know, they're pretty cool. Instead of the regular ears, I replaced them for knives because I'm edgy. And this is the customer window. We got a nice little winter mat set out for everybody who comes. They can rest their arms here. And we have a fuckload of jewelry. No one wants to buy my jewelry, and I don't know why. The upcycler is where we begin to see some serious money and some even more serious funny, because this item allows you to attach artifacts to other artifacts. Naturally, the possibilities are seemingly endless because you can make some really stupid shit. The customer comes in and they're asking for a bottle. Okay, how about a bottle with a blade sticking out of it and a grandma's egg on top of it? The best part about this is that no matter how stupid your item is, the customer will not only always pay full price for the artifact, but they'll always pay full price for every other artifact attached to it. It's a great way to clear out inventory you don't need while making a fuckload of money hand over fist. First of all, big congratulations to Spilt Milk Studios for successfully crowdfunding and creating Trash Goblin. I had a lot of fun with this game, but it's not perfect, and I'll tell you why. Trash Goblin is still in early access, so I don't want to be too critical of it, but basically, it's a cozy game, and cozy games fundamentally suck dick. That being said, there are some cozy games that have cracked the code, and they're really good, but what separates these cozy games from these cozy games? Koromora makes a great video about why cozy games suck, and she basically boils it down to the progression sucking, poor character dialogue and development, and minimal gameplay. Trash Goblin needs better progression, it definitely needs better character development, and some more gameplay wouldn't hurt either. So let's start with character dialogue and development. Trash Goblin has an incredibly rich cast of regular customers in the game. Yeah, they add a lot to the overall world building of the game, but their dialogue is really boring and doesn't contribute to the main story of the game whatsoever because there is no main story. Now, that's not inherently a bad thing. There are lots of games that don't have a main story, and this isn't a problem. The difference, however, is that most games that don't have a main story also don't take place in a big fantasy world with a cast of fun and detailed characters. A good game to compare this to is Sort the Court. Sort the Court is a game that's a lot like Trash Goblin. There's no main story, the characters are wacky and goofy, and the gameplay is simplistic. The same way that our goblin sits in the shop all day, the king sits in his castle all day. But what separates this from this? Well, that's easy. I actually give a fuck about the characters in Sort the Court. Each character that visits not only adds to the world building of the game, but also they have their own story that I, as the player, am easily able to invest myself into. And they're not complex stories. Maybe Trash Goblin could take a page from Sort the Court's book and overhaul the characters a little bit. Next, we have progression. Upgrading the shop, while nice, isn't something that I find to be an engaging enough premise to be the main goal. There are a few purchases around the shop that make the game a bit easier, like the coffee pot and the soak tub, but the rest are just decorative. You get additional storage slots by purchasing certain items, but you don't actually need them because for the most part you're storing artifacts on the shelves. And personally, unless it's for a main quest, I don't really see the point in fully upgrading the upcycler. Stop right there, criminal scum! Time out! I wrote this script before they added the deep clean update. In the new update, you can upgrade both your chisels and your sponge. And my point still stands regardless, but I figured it was worth mentioning. Okay, back to the video. You gotta give us more to work with and more to do. And buddy, I have a few suggestions. By the way, these don't have to be added straight away, but it'd be nice to see them. 1. Add haggling. Okay, I know that the devs have gone on record in what was a very unintentionally condescending side note in the recent community post, stating that they're not too keen on adding a true-to-life haggling mode to the game. And to that I say, just make it fucking optional if you genuinely think it's going to be worse for the player. You ever heard of easy mode and hard mode before? Add a little box that says haggling on or haggling off. I really don't think that'd be too hard to code in. I don't think you understand just how condescending this side note actually is. People who ask for haggling in a shopkeeping game don't necessarily want haggling.
You think you do, but you don't.
Here's a little tip for your spilt milk. You don't get to decide what your player base wants. If people say they want haggling, then they probably want haggling. However you add that to the game is up to you at your discretion. And it's not like whatever you add is set in stone. If it sucks, you can always change it or remove it. I, for one, think that haggling would be a really great feature. Maybe you can sell a little book by the shopkeepers, and when you read it, you become more knowledgeable in sales, making your chance of a successful haggle higher. Haggling is something customers do to get a good deal at the expense of the shopkeeper, which just doesn't seem right or fun. Well, actually, isn't the customer the one making the offer? If you're the recipient, that means you have the negotiating leverage. This argument doesn't make sense, dude. Respectfully, of course. I like the game. But until I hear a valid argument about haggling not being a tenable feature to add to the game, I see no valid excuse. 2. Add food. I know that this is called Trash Goblin and not Ready Steady Cook starring Fern Britton, Ainsley Harriott, and Rylan Clark, but there's no harm in selling peanuts and mead on the side. Take out the pay what you can box and replace it with a pretzel stand or some shit like that. That would be fucking fire. 3. Please, for the love of God, let me leave the shop. I'm tired of working all the time, dude. I want to explore. Let me hire an employee so I can take a fucking day off. It would be really nice if we were able to explore more of this world that they have established for us, no matter how minimalistic that would look like. My goblin slaved away for over 150 days. I think he deserves some fresh air. 4. Please add some more customization options. It would be really cool to deck out your shop with some themes that aren't Christmas related. I love Christmas as much as the next guy, trust me, but there's a time and a place, and that time and place is December. And this is a silly game. You could add some silly themes. Cyberpunk, pirate, 60s diner, space, wizards, fucking anything. 5. Add gambling. I don't know how you do it, but please just do it. 6. Add fishing. Put a hole in the floor of the shop and just let me fish. 7. Add drinking. Please let me drink on the job. It's so fucking stressful to be on my feet all day just tinkering with artifacts and dealing with this who wants like his 5th bedpan of the day. Just please let me drink. 8. Add an 8-lane highway that goes over the shop. Put a Walmart and a 10-story car park next to it while you're at it. 9. Add boss battles. This is starting to get out of hand. I'm sorry. Let's wrap it up. Well, guys, it's looking like that time again. As the video comes to an end, I want to cap it off with a thought. Throughout my over 60 hours in Trash Goblin, I couldn't help but think about the metaphor of the barrel our goblin sleeps in. It reminds me of the story of Diogenes the Cynic, a philosopher who renounced materialism and lived in a barrel just like our character. Where others spent their lives amassing as much wealth as they could, Diogenes opted out to live a simpler, minimalistic life. In his own ironic way, he was thrust higher above anyone in society during that time period, and he got there by simply rejecting the ideal of society as a whole. Maybe that's what Trash Goblin is all about. Living a simple life in a store, much like Diogenes lived a simple life in his barrel. Taking the time to appreciate the artifacts and citizens of the big wide world before sending them on their way, rather than breezing by without smelling the roses. I still want to leave the shop though.